Good morning. I am Andrea with Happy Cloud Creations. Um, if there is a live up, if there's a live up in that corner, that means I'm live. If there's no live up in the corner, then this is a replay. I'm gonna wait a couple seconds to see if anyone jumps on. So we're at week 3. We only got 2 more weeks left of this Starlight Mountains Quilt Along, which is kind of exciting. So next week is our last block. And then the 5th week, we put our top together and our quilt together. So that is really exciting. I know it's a little early, so I don't know how many people are going to actually jump on. It's 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here in Washington. I wanted to try to jump on and get this going before my kids woke up. So they're still sleeping. If you jump on, make sure to say hi so I can see if I can see comments. If you guys have any questions about this block, please let me know. I call this one the mountain block because it looks like a mountain. Oh, I forgot my quilt over in the other room. Maybe I'll grab that at the end of the quilt, at the end, so you guys can see what that mountain block looks like. Hope you guys are all having a good morning. Oh, good. Hello, Virginia. Yay, I can see comments. Yeah, so let's just get into it. If you are going scrappy or if you're going with a larger size twin, throw, or queen size, make sure to check those the fabric requirements. I've also created a little PDF. I'm going to upload it to the group after this video. It tells you how many blocks you need and how many pieces, cutting and instructions for each block if you're doing the twin, queen, or king. And this block is a little more confusing than the other ones because this block, if you're making the throw size, I have you making 4 of your combos of flying geese with the 4 at one time. And then I have you making 2 of your flying geese of each combo with the 1 at one time. Oh, good. Hello, hello. Morning. Are the measurements with amounts for 6 blocks? Yes, Margaret. So if you cut all these pieces on the pattern, that will give you 6 blocks. If you are making a different size, twin, throw, or twin, queen, or king, I'm going to upload this PDF to the group after this video is done. That way, because I know this one's a little more confusing, because if you're making a twin, you will make 2 sets of each combo for 4 at one time, and you won't make any of the 1 at one time. Queen, you'll make 2 sets of the 4 at one time and 2 of the 1 at one time. And then if you're doing king, you'll just make 3 of the 4 at one time flying geese of each combo. So I wrote that on here, how many combos you need of each and what all the cutting requirements are. So I'll so early, sorry guys. I'll upload that when I'm done with this video. I had some coffee, but no food, so I'm like, you missed the beginning. I haven't started yet, Tammy. I'm just getting going. Okay, good morning, good morning, good morning. Wow, so many of you guys are up. But I guess if it's 7 o'clock here, it's later on the East Coast, right? 9 on the East Coast? Okay. So yeah, so if you're doing twin, queen, or king, just after this video, look for this in file section of the group. I will upload that. Since I already went over the 4 at one time flying geese in the first week's video, I'm not going to do that today. You can find that in the files or in the media section of this group. Sorry, my hair's all wet. Or I've uploaded that to my YouTube channel, which is, if you go on YouTube and search Happy Cloud Creations, I've created a playlist for Starlight Mountains Quilt Along. I've also uploaded, you can also find that link on my blog as well. I've embedded those videos. I'll embed the videos on each week's blog post. And my blog is happycloudcreations.com. Pretty simple, guys. Ooh, it's 10 o'clock where you are, Dory. Good, good, good. Okay. So 4 at one time, look at the first video. If you don't understand that, the key to that is if you are using a 4-inch scant seam. A lot of people are like, you know, 4th-inch scant isn't that necessary for that block. It kind of is. I forgot to show you guys my feet last week. Basically, I bought this foot it goes with my Janome, and it's just called a 1/4 inch foot, even though it gives me a scant 1/4 inch. And it gives me this little guide that I can either butt up to the edge of my fabric. Now it's kind of hard to see. Or I just place that on my drawn line. And that gives me that scant 1/4 inch seam. My regular presser foot that I got with my machine gives me a little too much, and it makes my pieces not the correct size. And you'll see later in this block where that could run into a problem. So first, we're just going to get into it. We got some people on here. Okay, so my line kind of faded. I used a disappearing ink pen, and it already disappeared. I did this morning. But also I like to use a hero marker. You can find these at your local quilt shop, Amazon, Joann's. It just gives you a little crease in the fabric so that you don't have to worry about ink washing out. Hi, Connie. We just started. Sorry you had a hard time finding this. It just pops up on the main page in the National Quilter Circle group. So if you go to that page and keep refreshing, it should pop up at the top. So I drew a line from one edge of the square to the other. The squares are going to be 2.5 inches, and the rectangle is going to be 2.5 by 4.5. So if you decide you don't like the 4 at one time flying geese, you can actually make all of your flying geese this way. It just takes up a little more fabric because you're throwing this little triangle away. It may be easier. I like to say with the 4 at one time, try it out. Try it on scrap paper. I really love it, but I know some of you don't love it. So you draw that line, and then I like to sew my line right up against that drawn line. Even just kind of, if your line is thick, I like to chomp into the side of that line on the outside, not the inside, the outside. If you do it on the outside, you will ensure that your geese ends up the correct size. All right, so, and then once you've done that, keep it all together, finger press it open so that you match all 3 corners together, and then you go and press. I just keep my fingers on that, and then I press it with my iron, and that ensures that it lines up with the edges of this rectangle. If you push them all together, and then if you do see, oh, some is coming over the edge, I just turn it on the back side, measured up with my ruler, and just trim off any excess while it's still like this. And then once it's ironed down, pressed down, I just take my scissors. You can use a rotary cutter and a ruler, but I like using scissors. I just cut it off a 1/4 inch, and then we still have this flap. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other side. We're going to put our 2.5 inch square. We're going to draw a line from top to bottom, and we're going to sew right against that line. Just chomp right into it. And then again, line those corners up, press it down with your iron. Motion with an iron or steam with an iron can cause your lines to not be as straight. So when I'm doing flying geese, I like to just press with a dry iron. Sometimes you can get better results that way. Same with the 4 at one time. Just press, no motion, and then your geese end up much better. And then, you trim that off, iron it. Oh, I didn't cut that off yet. Tried to hurry and get some of this done this morning before I jumped on. I've been up since 5. So then we have our flying geese is all done. So you're going to want to make sure, if you have to trim anything off of these, you're going to want to make sure there is a 1/4 inch above this point, because that's going to be your seam allowance when you go to sew everything together. If you cut this smaller than a 1/4 inch, you're going to go into your point, and you don't want to lose your points. Does anybody have any questions about the 1 at one time? I also had difficulty finding the video. I'm sorry, guys. I think it's such a big group. It's hard to find. That's why I kind of didn't go into it right away. I just kind of chatted a little. So I don't think you guys missed anything. I've just started with the 1 at one time flying geese. And also I mentioned if you're doing a twin, queen or king, I'm going to post a PDF in the group that tells you exactly how much you need to cut. Fort One Time Flying Geese video is in week 1. So once you have all of your flying geese done, and you just basically, if you're making the throw, the Fort One Time tells you to do 1 of each color combo that is listed. And then for the 1 at one time, you'll do 2 of each 1 at one time combo. Okay, so it tells you how much to cut those. I suggest reading all the instructions, not just going by the diagrams. Sometimes it helps to read and look at the diagrams. Does anybody have any questions about the 1 at one time? I think they're fairly easy. I like them. So let's see. I'm going to kind of give you a tip for if you're going scrappy. And then I'll get into the other parts of the group, I guess. Parts of the pattern. When I'm going scrappy, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that, guys? So I have little sticky labels here on my cutting board. This one has A, B, C, D, because that is kind of how the block is laid out. And this one says B1, this one's B2. Because this is the little strip at the bottom of our block that I'm going to have it as a different color because all my blocks are different colors. So what I do is I have color C, color B1, my color A, and then down here, I guess you can move that. This is my bottom line. And then I have D up here. That way, when I go to make my flying geese, I know that this top one's wings are going to be with this one. This top one's wing is going to be with this one. It just kind of helps me in my brain figure it out. But you can also, I just like having these here to remind me, okay, this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D. I don't know, in my brain that works, but I don't know if that works for other people's brains. But also you can just go from this. Okay, if I'm making scrappy, each mountain block is different. You're going to want to do 1 of each of these combos. You're not going to do 2. You'll do 1 because each block has 1 of those combos. I like your Fort One Time because no wasting material. Yes, Virginia, that's why I like them too, because 1, it's faster. 2, you save material. And you know, that material is precious right now. It's hard to order material. So once you have all of your flying geese done, mine are scrappy, so it's a little more confusing. So I'm kind of trying to pin 1 block at a time, separating it, pin another block at a time, separate it into little piles so that I don't mix them up. If you're doing all just the 4 colors, it won't be as tricky and you can just go by the instruction. It's a lot easier, you know? All right, so once you have those flying geese done, this step kind of gets into building your units of the block. So this one has 9 units in this block, and I find that easier once you break a block up into units, especially since this is a unfinished 16.5-inch block. I like to break it up into units or quadrants, you know? So you kind of just can lay all your pieces out to make that block. I'm going to skip down to the corner units because some people had questions about those because they're like, they're mirrored. Why are they the same block? Because you can actually rotate those. So if you are not using a 1/4-inch scant, here's where you could run into a problem. If your seam is too big, this strip will not be the correct size. It'll be too small. If you're using that correct 1/4-inch scant seam, it will end up 4.5 inches long, and that'll be perfect. I'm making little 1.5-inch half square triangles with the cutoffs. Oh, that's a good idea, Jackie. She's using those little cutoffs from her flying geese, the little triangles, making little half square triangles. Those are a little too small for me. So I just give that fabric to my kids so they can play with it. But so if this is the correct 1/4-inch scant, it will line up with this correctly. If your seam is too small and it's a little smaller than a 1/4-inch scant, this will be too long. And to solve that problem, If you're going to trim this at all before you add it to your square, you want to make sure to line this center line up with 2 1/4 inches. So line up with the 2 1/4, trim off a little, flip it around, line it up with the 2 1/4, trim it. Most people have the problem of it being perfect or it being a little too small. So use that 1/4 inch scant. All right, so we get those sewed together. I pin in place, of course, and then you're gonna iron it or press it. I like to finger press it open and then press it. My pressing instructions in the pattern obviously are just a suggestion. I like to do that so my seams will eventually nest very well when you're sewing all your units together and then sewing your blocks together. If you want to press your seams open for less bulk, go for it. Do what you guys want to do. If it's easier for you to press those open, do it. So once we have that done, we have the 3-inch strip, which you're just sewing the 3 2 1/2 inch squares together, and we have this unit. I like to measure this, make sure it's the correct size, and then you can go and nest. For pinning, I like to nest these two together. That's why I press this one way and this the other. Nest those two together, pin in place, sew down, press, finger press open, and then press open. And then we have a little block like this. So people might be like, oh, it's mirrored. But if you notice that they are all the same, so let's see, where is my pattern? If you look at this final layout, you can see that these just rotate. So my A color is the light pink. So this one will be on this side, and then we'll rotate it to be on this side. So it's the exact same block, but it's just rotated on one side or the other. Same with this one. This is my background color, the white. So one will be like this, and then the other will be rotated like that. Does anybody have any questions about this block? Once you have all your 9 pieces together, you're going to sew them into rows, press the seams alternating ways, and then sew all 3 rows together. I didn't get that far, so I just have a lot of pieces still, and I have not sewn a block yet together because this weekend was a little busy and I didn't have enough time to sew. Does anybody have questions about this block? So yeah, if you're going scrappy, I recommend doing one at a time, which I also give the amounts if you're going scrappy, how much it is just for one block. All the pieces just for one block. And if you're going scrappy, you're just going to use the 1 at 1 time flying geese method. And I think this block is pretty simple since you're just doing flying geese and you're not really having to match any 2 points up together like last week, that center points with the flying geese points. They're just all going one way, so there's going to be a lot less bulk with this block too. So I'm glad you all could join me. There's a lot of you on here. Does anybody have any questions before I get off of here? Next week, I will jump on. I think I'm going to do Tuesday next week. That way everyone gets a chance to look at the pattern before I do the video. I'll do it again at 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning. And then it'll give me a little extra time to prep for the video as well. Just do it one step at a time. Don't sweat it. You can do it. Yes, I recommend doing one step at a time. And read each step, look at the picture, and you got it. This block isn't that bad. Me too. I'll rewatch Andrew's actually as I watch. Awesome, Connie. I'm glad you're liking this. Great shirt. Need a mirror in the sewing room to inspire yourself. Yeah. Do you get the top point at the top? Deborah, the top point at the top. Are you referring to the flying geese points? So this, when you sew it together to another piece, since this is a 1/4 inch, it will just be like that. I can go grab my quilt. It's in the other room. Also, I'll be saving this video to my YouTube channel, and then I'll embed it in my blog. My blog is happycloudcreations.com. I'm also, every week I post the link to the new block on my page, which is Happy Cloud Creations on Facebook. Same with on Instagram. It's actually facebook.com/shop Happy Cloud Creations. If you like my patterns, follow me. That way you can see any new patterns that I'm making. And my website also has a bunch of other free patterns if you guys want to download those. Yay! Jennifer's excited to start week 3. I'm sorry it's a little challenging. It is for an adventurous beginner because of the flying geese. But I think you guys can do it. It's good. Why can't my blocks finish at 5.5? I'm a beginner. I cut everything correct. Have you done the 1/4 inch scant test? If you have not done the test to make sure you're doing the correct 1/4 inch scant seam, make sure to do it. It's in the fabric requirements at the top. So 3 strips together, 2.5 inch wide strips. And if your center strip ends up exactly 2 inches, then you got a 1/4 inch scant. If it's any smaller than that, any tiny bit smaller, then your blocks are going to end up the wrong size. Also, make sure you're pressing your seams fully opened. If they're not fully opened, your block will end up too small. I cut the pieces and then put it in baggies for the steps so I don't get the image. Good idea, Linda. Yeah, I did that with all my blocks. Each block is in a separate bag, just so that I don't mix them up because I'm going very scrappy on this one, and there's 6 blocks. I signed up for the newsletter on your page. Look forward to exploring your site. Awesome, Tammy. Hope you like all my quilts. I try to aim for beginner-friendly quilts. Even if like adventurous beginner sometimes, but most of them are very beginner friendly. So I guess I'll see you guys next Tuesday. I'm going to do Tuesday at 7 a.m. I think that'll be better. That way everybody gets a chance to look at the pattern because I know it only came out, I got my email at 6 a.m. So next Tuesday, see you at 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time, which is West Coast United States. So you can always look at a world clock to see what your time is compared to that. It would either say like Seattle or Los Angeles is Pacific time. So I will see you guys next Tuesday. Happy quilting!